Hey everyone, I am Tim, web developer sharing quick and practical coding tips. So today, I'm going to share with you 5 easy techniques to center elements using CSS. So we are on my VS Code and let's create a new CSS file. And inside the HTML, let's add a new h1 tag. And the text will be I love football. So if I refresh the browser, we should see the text. Yeah, so the first technique is to center the text, and it's very easy. In the container, we set the text align to center. So that's simple. And when I refresh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because I forget to link the CSS. So you should link the CSS file here inside the head tag. And now I think it should work. Yeah, that's it. So the first technique is very simple. You add text align center into the container. This only works for inline and inline-block elements. But what if the element you want to center is a block? Let's see it together. You can use margin 0 auto. But for that you need a fixed width on the element, like here. So you set the margin to 0 auto. Yeah, so why does it work? Imagine this, if someone pushes you 1 meter to the left and another person pushes you 1 meter to the right, you'll end up back in the center. That's exactly how margin 0 auto works. Let's see how centering works step by step. Here's our character, starting at the left. When we add margin left auto, the browser calculates all available space and pushes him to the right. Now by adding margin right auto as well, the browser divides the space equally, perfectly centering our character. So the short-hand margin 0 auto does the exact same thing, but it sets top and bottom margins to 0. Yeah, and that's it. Simple CSS centering in action. Yeah, so the next technique, guys, I think it's the most interesting one. If you need to remember only one technique in this video, make it this one. Yeah. You know, with this technique, you can center almost anything with just 2 lines of code, or maybe 3. Okay, so let's see it together. This technique is Flexbox. So you just have to set the display property to flex and justify content to center. So if I reload the browser, yeah, that's it. It's centered horizontally. But what if you want to center it vertically? So let's put a min height of 100 VH. I refresh the browser and you can see that the content inside the container, the child, is taking the wall height of the parent. We don't want it. So it's simple. Let's just set its height to fit content. So now it just taking its own height. Yeah. So to center it vertically, now we just use the property align items to center, and that's it. If you reload the browser, yeah, that's it. It's centered both horizontally and vertically. So if I wrap up display flex, justify content center to center it horizontally, and align time center to center it vertically. Now the next technique is display grid, and it's simple. You just have to set the property place items to center. It's like Flexbox, but this time it's one-liner. You just have to set the place items to center. Yeah, and that's it. This method is super clean and works great for layouts. But what if the element is positioned absolutely? Let's handle that next. Yeah, now when an element has position absolute, it's removed from the normal flow, which means Margin Auto or Flexbox or Grid won't work. So instead, we use a different trick. So let's see it together. Here, I set the content class to have an absolute position. And for the container, I set the position to relative. In the HTML, we can see that the container is the parent and the content is the child, right? We set the top to 50% and we set the left to 50%. As you can see, when I refresh the browser, the element is not really centered. So to fix it, let's add a transform, translate, negative 50% for the x-axis and negative 50% for the y-axis. So if we refresh, yeah, it's perfectly centered now. Here you can see that the first value is for the x-axis, and for the second value it's for the y-axis. Yeah, you can clearly see it. For example, if I set the first value to negative 50%, you can see that it's centered horizontally. Now let's change the second value to negative 50%. You can see that it's centered both horizontally and vertically. Here we have a star marking the center of our page. And we also have a blue box in the top left corner. When we set left to 50%, the box moves right until its left edge reaches the middle of the page. Adding top 50% pushes the box down until its top edge hits the middle of the page. See how the box top left corner is centered with our star. But that's not what we want. By adding transform, translate, negative 50%, negative 50%, we shifted the box back by half its own width and height, perfectly centering it around the star. And that's it. Perfect centering using position absolute, transform, and translate. Okay, so let's add a new HTML element. Let's add an HTML element with a class stadium, and let it be the parent of the container. Yeah. So the container will be the child of the stadium. So the stadium will be the outermost element. Now let's move on to the CSS file. And let me set the mean height of the container to 20 VH, so I reduced it. And for the outermost element, the stadium, I will set the mean height to 100 VH, so it can take the wall height. Now let's add a background color so you can see it clearly. Let's see how position relative works. Right now, I've commented it out on the container. Now the content should be positioned relative to the body. But in the case that I uncommented, the child would be positioned relative to its parent, the container. This means any positioning like top, left, right, bottom is applied within the container instead of the whole page. Let's see it. I refresh the page, and as you can see, the relative position is commented out. So the content element is positioned relative to the body. Let's uncomment position relative. Now the container element is positioned relative to the container. When you set position relative on a parent or ancestor, any child element with position absolute will be positioned relative to that parent. For the bonus, but first, let me remove the ugly blank space here. We just have to set the body's margin and padding to 0. Okay, here's the bonus technique. On the container, you set the text align to center. And on the content, the child, you set the display to inline-block. And that's simple as it is. So here we set on the container text align to center. Oh, there's a duplicate text align property, so I'll remove the first one. And if I reload the page, it doesn't work, of course, because we have to set the display to inline-block on the child, the content here. So let's add it. Display inline-block. And that's it. Now it's centered horizontally. Thank you guys, take care of you.